Hi there, it's Caitlin from Ragamuffin Pet Photography. Welcome back to another 5-minute tutorial all about how to photograph your pets at home. So the theme this week is silhouette pet photography. Now, as a technique, this can add a lot of drama, mystery, mood for your photos. And because animals have such a recognizable outline, they really do make an ideal subject when we're creating silhouettes. So without any further ado, I'm going to dive into my 8 top tips of how to create awesome silhouetted pet photography. Hope you enjoy. Number 1, find space. Location really matters when it comes to creating silhouettes. You want wide open spaces, so think grassy fields or the beach. Basically, you don't want any distracting elements in the background cluttering up your silhouette. So you want to avoid trees, houses, buildings, or even just wires and that kind of thing in the background. Yeah, think wide open spaces. Number 2, shoot with the sun low in the sky. If you're shooting outside with natural light, as opposed to using window light or artificial light, then you really want to make sure the sun is low in the sky. So aim for around sunrise, around sunset, or you can occasionally get away with afternoon light in winter. Which brings me to number 3, which is shoot against the light. Basically, you want to position yourself so there's you, and then your subject, and then the light. If you have a light source behind you and it's shining onto your pet, they're going to be too much illuminated and you won't be able to create that shadow effect. Number 4 is to get down low. Now, it's important in all pet photography to get down on our pet's level, but it's even more important in silhouettes because getting down low can help minimize any distracting background elements. So for example, if you're struggling, you had a lot of trees around, you might try to find a hill so that you can position your pet on top of the hill and then you can shoot from lower down. Or if you're shooting at the beach, if you get right down into the sand, then you're just gonna have beautiful sky. So getting down low can really help to simplify your background. Number 5 is to expose for your light source. So normally when we're exposing, we're trying to expose for our pet. We want our pet to be clearly defined so that we can see all the shadows and highlights and details on them. But in this situation, we want our pet to be totally in shadow and we want to expose for the light source, aka normally the sunlight. So if you're in a semi-automatic mode like aperture priority or shutter priority, then as long as your subject or your pet is quite small in the frame, you will probably get a correct exposure. However, if you're finding that the image is too bright, then you can either use exposure compensation, so that's a little plus minus, and underexpose, or you can switch to manual mode. If you're shooting on a smartphone, then just click the focus square on your pet and drag down to make the image darker. You do still want to be focused on your pet, that's why we're clicking on the pet, but obviously they will then be overexposed, so you have to manually underexpose. If you're shooting on an Android, you can use your pro modes to adjust the exposure there as well. Now, speaking of our camera settings, that brings me to number 6, which is to shoot with a wide depth of field. Basically, we want a lot of the image to be sharp. In low light settings like these, it can be difficult for our camera's autofocus systems to pick up on our pets. So if we shoot with a more narrow aperture, something around f8, then you will find more of the image will be sharp. Number 7, pay attention to your outline. You really want to avoid any overlapping elements or subjects when it comes to silhouette pet photography. So for example, you don't want your dog standing in front of a tree, or you don't want your 2 dogs standing in front of each other, because obviously everything blends together into one big black blob. So basically you want to separate your subjects as much as possible. And I find with pets, you get the best sort of silhouette when they're standing side on. They have a very recognizable outline, you can see their tail. So standing up and standing side on is a great way to pose your pet. Or of course, them jumping or running or doing some sort of action really looks great too. And finally, number 8, don't feel limited to shooting outside. Even though a lot of silhouette pet photography is taken outside at sunrise or sunset, you can totally create this effect inside. So it's particularly fun to play around with if you have an inside cat, for example. All you have to do is make sure all your inside lights are turned off so that the main source of light is coming from outside. And I find it can be really cool to edit these sorts of photos in black and white, because again, you're just looking at shapes, so it sort of simplifies everything. Okay, so we've come to the dog park to photograph our silhouette photos. Now there's some beautiful blues and pinks that are happening or were happening 10 minutes ago in the sky behind me, but unfortunately because the sun is setting that way, you don't have enough light in the sky there, so I've had to sort of readjust where I was going to shoot it. So instead what I did is, if you can kind of tell, I'm on a hill here, I was at the bottom of this hill shooting up. So basically I tried to crop out as many of the trees. You follow me this way. What you want to try and do is have as clean of a background as possible. If I had shot this at my own eye level, I would have had all the houses and trees in the background and it would have been impossible to silhouette the dogs. So instead what I had to do is head to the bottom of the hill, shoot right down close to the ground and shoot up towards the sky, so it was just the dogs and the sky. Okay, that's the end of my 5-minute tutorial on how to photograph your pet at home. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you feel inspired to take some creative photos of your own pet. If you're interested in learning more little tips and tricks with how to improve your own pet photography, I would love for you to join me in my How to Photograph Your Pet online course. I will leave a link below. Enrollments are now open and there is a launching sale going on now, so you can save $50 if you're interested. That's all. I hope you enjoyed it and bye for now.